A tangle, a tangled web inside my mind.
We're talking about Aquarius. We're talking about freedom. Yeah, you have to free yourself. I mean, you are free. You just have to know it.
Right. Yeah, like there really are no chains.
They're not. They're none.
There are
You should give it
none.
to yourself. That's the wild thing about it.
Mm.
Because we have a lot of these concepts out here where people are perceiving that they're in chains. But it's like, okay, am I agreeing to that or not?
Mm-hmm.
I used to agree to that, and I used to feel really jacked up in my body, like literally sick from the stress and from the worry from these perceptions. I used to even I call it I used to have a oppressive mind state, a impoverished mindset, a jacked up relationship with money, like all these things, really because I had an agreement with these ideas.
Mm.
I had an agreement with the struggle, like I'm supposed to be impoverished, angry, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, my body was just like, okay, like cool, like you agreeing to it, I'm agreeing to it.
Greetings, I am Monique Ruffin, and welcome to Forget Everything You Think You Know, the Aquarius Full Moon episode. I am so excited for this episode today because we as humanity, as a human race, not just as Americans or Europeans or Africans, but we are all moving into the age of Aquarius. This is a new energy on the planet that those of us who are alive now have never experienced. And what I mean when I say that, I mean the configurations and the aspects that are happening in the celestial beings, the celestial bodies, which are the planets that are Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, Jupiter, are the celestial bodies, and their configurations are new in how they are impacting the humans who are on the planet now. We are in a new cycle that we have not seen in, I say, like 1,500 years. So the age of Aquarius is something that really started at the end of 2012. It was predicted on the Mayan calendar as the end of times. It has been predicted in the Bible, in Revelations, as the end of times. And we are having what is the end of times. It just doesn't look like what we were told as children. We're not having, the sky opening up and humans going up or down. That's not what it's like. But metaphysically, the sky within us is opening up. And there are humans who are ascending to the heavens within them. And they're not alone there, because there are many of us who are doing that ascension process of taking on another consciousness, which is the age of Aquarius, which is about being absolutely true to your divine blueprint. And this is an incredible time to be alive. It's a frightening time to be alive for many people. It is a confusing time to be alive. At this time, we're watching, there's unrest in South Africa. There is unrest in Haiti. There's unrest in Cuba. And all around the world, people are awakening, and there are systems that people have agreed upon that they now want to be free from. Aquarius is about freedom. So there is a revolution that is going on, first and foremost, inside of us. But we will see this revolutionary experience happening around the world, and it will look many different ways. But most importantly, it needs to look like each and every person declaring their freedom within themselves. What is it that you need to be free from? What is it that your life is saying, wouldn't you like to be free from this? Maybe you have belief systems around money, or relationship that you would like to free yourself from. Maybe you have belief systems around what it means to be a human, what your race is, or your religion that you would like to be free from. Maybe you are outgrowing patterns that were established in your family or in your childhood that no longer serve you, and you would like to be free from those. This is the time to begin to free yourself. So with that, I'm very excited to have our guest, Divine Wang, here today with us. Welcome, Divine. How are you doing?
I'm feeling excellent. Thank you for having me here on the show.
Oh, I wouldn't. I'm so excited. So I just want to say Divine is an artist. Like, his artwork is extraordinary. What this gentleman can do with some paint and a canvas and some colors is better than Picasso. Better than
They always say, "Oh, you're going to be the next Picasso." I said, "I'm the next me." Picasso don't have nothing on me.
That's right. Has nothing on you. Literally, I see your work and I'm mesmerized by what you can do with imagery. So thank you for being here. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, before we dive into our conversation around Aquarius Full Moon.
Yes, peace and blessings, everyone. As Monique said, I'm an artist extraordinaire. I love to paint. I really translate a lot of the inner verse onto the canvas. This is really like a conversation with, the other side in the physical world, and what I'm really wanting to bring and share with the world. So you see that on the canvases. I love bright colors. I feel like that's something that really brings people to a certain type of conversation when they look and interact with that. I love to cook. All my food is artistic, it's colorful. Mm-hmm. And I'm very passionate about people-to-people relations. So I'm also a relationship coach. I work with the LGBTQ community in terms of building, cultivating, and maintaining harmonious relationships. And I also work with women in understanding what the feminine energy is, as that's their superpower, and how do we take that to come into a space that is going to be beneficial and freeing for us.
Thank you so much. Those are the reasons that I invited you here today, because Aquarius, like I said, is this new energy. It's about your freedom. It's about rebelling against the old constructs. And oftentimes we think rebelling means that we have to go to war with the government or, some particular person, but that's actually not the truth. That's not the first step. And so tell me, how do you work with your own unique energy? How did you get to the place where you could feel comfortable being true to yourself?
Yeah, I think for myself, it's been a life journey doing that. Literally, it's been a life journey. I know that you often talk about your childhood and different experiences. And for myself, I've literally seen that same thing unfold, the challenge, because I'm an artist. I'm a creator. Everything about me, since as long as I could remember, it was about creation. And I remember being in a space growing up where that creation wasn't honored. It wasn't honored externally. And so from a young age, I began to have this conflict. Do I embrace this? Because if I embrace this, this is conflicting with the environment. It's conflicting with my mother. It's conflicting with my peers. It's conflicting with, what they say I'm supposed to do or what how I'm supposed to look like, how I'm supposed to be. And this has literally been a challenge, every step of the way. And I've had to make a lot of decisions in terms of, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to tap into this, right? I'm going to, stand in this. But it has, I would say, when did it really start to really sink in? I would say probably within the last 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. Because, when you're a child and then you have that teenage year, the pressures of the environment, like you really don't know what to do with that. You believe that that's real. You believe that you're supposed to conform to that. Or you question yourself, like there's something wrong with me. You know, you don't see your gift as a gift.
Yes.
And so that did take some time to get to that point. And it was a lot of introspective work because I would spend a lot of time alone. I would spend a lot of time alone, but I also found in that alone time, it's almost kind of like it was a Pandora's box to another world. Like, oh, I have these gifts, you know, even it like it's very spiritual.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to, you know, for example, like I would see the auras. You know, we all know about the auras, like the energetic field and things like that. I would spend so much time alone, meditating in quiet, in silence. I would see this. And so it's almost just like, this is affirming my presence. Like, you are special, like you are unique. You do have things to bring to this world. And I have had to overcome family challenges to accept myself, social challenges. But I think what it is really being in that space of overcoming those challenges and being and bringing the light to others. I have to decide I'm going to bring the light to others. A lot of us, sometimes we feel like, oh, if our parents or somebody else is not accepting, we start to shut down. But I said, no, I am the light. You're not going to accept me now, but guess what? You're going to accept me. And guess what? If you don't, I'm still going to be me. Like, I'm bringing this. Like, this is who I'm going to be. So you get to decide how you're going to engage with me, but I'm not going to close myself off. I'm not going to shut myself down. And I'm going to be fully comfortable in myself, because when I am, things are working in my favor. So why would I not be in my energy?
That's a really powerful thing, because I feel like in my coaching and in my life, and sometimes for myself, I have witnessed myself and others expect the acceptance to come from outside of ourselves. I experience a number of people that I coach or that I am just in relationship with who are looking for the validation to come from out there. So can you talk about, how do we source validation from within us? How do we do this?
Yeah, sourcing validation from within. I would definitely say that imagination is key to this. It's key. Why do I say this? Because when we talk about creativity, creation, experiences, we're talking about the imagination. And the interesting thing is, we grow up in a society where they try to stamp that out. Pay attention in class, stop doodling, stop drawing, be here with me, you know? And it's not really valued. So we're not taught to value it like after a certain age. But that is really the portal, because we have to be able to see the experience that we want. Because when we see that, we feel it. It's almost like when we listen to music that we love. We listen to music we love, we move our bodies, we get in the groove, it's a different experience. And so in that space, because for me, I've utilized music.
Yes.
Because I'm an artist, I utilize music, and that's how I'm able to get into a certain type of space. And in that space, I'll allow myself to see the experience that I want. You know, and we know essentially that imagination or visual, or some people call it visualization, plus emotion. That's an equation here. People like, get this: emotion plus visualization equal manifestation. Like, you have to see it and you have to feel it.
Yes.
Because it almost doesn't even matter if it's here physically yet. But here's the beauty. Here's the beauty of it. The more you sit with yourself in that space, and it doesn't even have to be work. That's why I said, put on some good music. Put on some good music, dance, get yourself a nice a drink, or, you know, whatever, and be in that space. Because what you're going to see is the outside begin to respond to you. And I can't tell you how many people, like, even in my own relationship, like, I'm married, and I'm also in the space of cultivating partnership with others as well. And me being in that space, affirming self, affirming what I want to experience, that is shifting the environment. I mean, my husband comes to me when he wants a reading. But there was a point in time where I had to question, was he going to accept my gifts?
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's accepting of my gifts if I accept them. If I fully am connected and committed to my gifts, how is the environment not going to affirm me? I'm affirming myself.
Yes. Oh, this makes me feel so good. And the visioning and the imagination, all of those energies are very rooted in Aquarius. It is this capacity to be able to tap into what's not in the physical reality yet,
Yes.
but to know that it is coming if you can live there in your own consciousness.
Yes.
Right. And so what do you do? What kind of practices do you do? And could you speak to this from the perspective of, I heard you say for women, you're a coach for women and to help them harness their feminine power because that is their superpower. So can you tie what I'm saying into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with everything in this world, as you know, there's a lot of cycles. And so, I definitely work with women in acknowledging these different cycles that exist around us. The seasons have cycles, the days have cycles, the months, et cetera, et cetera. And so working in tangent with those cycles, what we call it the manifestation cycle, or, the moon cycles. It's really like, what are we working on and doing at each point of these cycles? Because it's one thing to have a certain type of desire or something you want to experience, but then what do we do with these different blockages? Mm-hmm. Because these things come up within us as well. We have this thing called the ego, and it tells us we can't, we won't, we don't. It's negating, the very thing we say we want to experience. So that is also a part of the cycle that we go through. Not only do we go into ceremony in terms of moving our emotion to that in which we say we want to desire, through crying, through dream work, through vision boarding, working with water, we also do that work to face our fears, to face our doubts, allow that to really come up, because a lot of times we either allow it to take over us or we suppress it. I'm like, allow it to come up. Like, what's the fear? Mm-hmm. What is the conflict? And really face that, head on, because only when that's clear do we really, it's like we're saying yes to the experience. Mm-hmm. People talk about the law of attraction, and that's the feminine, but when you haven't said yes by actually removing those fears, removing those doubts, removing whatever is clouding that space, it's almost kind of like you can't invite that goodness into your life. You can't invite those experiences into your life. And here's the thing. When we are engaged in these different ceremonies and experiences, we are building trust. We're building trust in the universe. We're building trust in ourselves. Because women too are also looking for trust outside themselves. Mm-hmm. But when it's like you're trusting, you literally get to lay back. You get to lay back into the experience and feel that trust, knowing that what you're asking for and what you want to experience is coming. It's literally unfolding. Mm-hmm. So when you see it unfold, you get to see your power at play. You are the one who created this. You are the one who pulled this into reality. So once you see that, once you experience that, there's no going back. Yeah. There's no going back, because now you are aware of the power that lies within you. Mm-hmm. You won't be looking outside anymore. You will be asking yourself, what else do I need to work on? Like, how deep is this ocean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to explore this ocean. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. So that working with the cycles is paramount. It's key.
That is really beautiful. So here's the thing. Women that I know, they want relationships.
Yes.
Women want love. And let me say that I have been in this experience myself, and I have learned for myself that loving myself, and I didn't believe it. When people said you need to love yourself, I because I didn't believe in myself and trust myself and know my gifts, I didn't understand the value of loving myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I literally had to get to know what's worth love here. Like that's just what I had to do, right? I had to get like, oh, you're smart and you're kind and all of this creativity and you come from this environment and you're strong and you're vulnerable. Like I had to see what
Yes.
I was made of so that I can love myself because I was just looking for love outside of me. So what do you, as a coach of women, in this age of Aquarius, where it's about really being true to ourselves, how can women have the relationship that they desire? What do you think the process is, or how to get there?
Yeah, I think part of, it's interesting because I think part of the this process of women transitioning or coming into this new age is understanding their role and positioning. And what I mean by that is, the social conditioning has been very disempowering for women, waiting around for a man to do A, B, and C, or to say A, B, and C, or to choose you and what have you. And we need to understand that it's the feminine that chooses. It's the feminine that chooses. Why is it that the feminine that chooses? Because when we talk about the feminine energy, it's that internal space. We were just talking about creation. We were talking about the depths of the oceans, and the law of attraction and all these imagination and creativity and trust and all these internal experiences. So this is actually the receptive space, because if you want a certain experience, you are receiving this experience, but you are the one who's having to choose. The why is the feminine one that's choosing, because she has already envisioned the experience that she desires.
Yes.
So when she's already
imagined
it. So when you want relationships, so when you are engaging with men, when you're engaging with the masculine, it's the woman. You're the one who is responsible for placing these men into your life. So you don't have to be in a position where you're wondering how you ended up with person A, B, and C, or why he's not showing up a certain way. Be clear about how you choose. And that's based on what you see. It's based on what you feel. It's based on that inner work. It's based on if you value yourself. Because if you're waiting on the outside, if you're waiting for the man to validate you, there's an issue here.
Yes.
There's a problem here. So that's the shift that's needing to happen, because women have been taught, it's like you just sit around, wait for the man, or you compete for the man. You jump through hoops for the man, and all of that is something we need to throw out the window. You get to actually, and here's the other thing, when you work with the cycles, you get to actually create this man before he physically exists. Let me tell you, that's how I manifested my husband. Because you were talking about value. Let me tell you, I know exactly what you're talking about, because of those experiences I was telling you about. I couldn't feel that love, that self-love. I couldn't feel that value, because the whole conflict was my entire life of, well, I want to be valuable. I want to feel the love, but externally, I'm not getting that. I'm not receiving that. And I had to get to a point where I finally allowed that to come in. It was a conversation with myself when I had gotten sick. I was so sick, people thought I was going to die. But anyways, in the recovery session, recovery period, I had a lot of time by myself. And that was the first time I said, you know what, fuck it. Maybe, I don't know if I'm a go or not, but I'm going to allow myself, I'm deserving. I'm deserving of love. And actually, this is what I want. And during that period, I literally crafted my husband into existence. I asked the universe what the experiences I wanted. I knew, because I knew what I didn't want, but I focused on what I did want. That's the other thing. What do you want?
Yes.
A lot of us don't know what we want. I don't want this. I don't want that. What do you want? So I spent days in that cycle, in the cipher, asking for what I want. This is what I want to experience. This is what it looked like. I knew what it looked like. So when he showed up, of course, there's some physical things that happen between then and things becoming official, but when you see your manifestation, that's it. You know it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually create this man or these men, if you want however many, before they physically exist.
Mm.
So you don't have to be in this space of frustration, or or you're looking, or you're hunting, or you're this or you're that, because the feminine is magnetic. You're going to magnetize this to you. You're going to bring these men into your life.
Mm.
When they show up, and with the qualities and experiences, you will be experiencing what you desire.
Mm.
Like I have a choice that's coming. I asked for, literally this past November. This is the kind of relationship I want. This is the experience that I need. It's a spiritual type of connection. I want to have someone to have deep talks with, because I love my husband, but it's a different energetic. We can't go but so deep on certain topics. I said, okay, I want another choice, additional choice, where there's a certain level of depth, right? And I also, I want to have an experience where I'm going out. Because I have this lover aspect, so that always has to be fed. I need to be taken out. I want to have experiences, what have you. So by the time this man shows up sometime earlier this year, the experiences are literally unfolding. I'm not asking him to do anything. It's unfolding. Oh, I bought you tickets to the art show, the Van Gogh show, because I know you like art. I didn't ask for that. It's unfolding. Oh, let me take you to this place. Or let me take you to this place. And then engaging in those conversations. So I know you deal with relationships. Let me really pick your mind. Mm-hmm. And he's learning from me, and we're growing and building and connecting in that space. So you see, you don't actually have to go outside to look. As the feminine, like, think about this as we'll call the black hole. It's a gravity. Like, where's your gravity?
That's right.
You have your gravity, because when you're sitting in your gravity, they're coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to paint the picture.
Ooh, so gravity is your power, right?
Yeah.
So your imagination, I heard you say you have to know what you want. So you have to spend time contemplating, listening to yourself, getting clear about what you really want. Then you have to paint the picture in your mind, your imagination, and you have to be loyal to that picture. You cannot defer. You have to be committed to it. And it has nothing to do with what's going on outside of you. Do not paint your picture in your head according to what you think somebody's going to think about it.
Right.
This is all you. Do it. Like, I had a writing teacher used to say to me, and her name was Georgina Lindsay. Her name is Georgina Lindsay. And she would say, when I was writing, and I love to write, she would say, write like everyone you know is dead. And that sounded so harsh. People, but I knew exactly what she was talking about, because if I'm wanting something and I think my mother might not approve of it, then I'm not going to fully allow myself to want it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is true. Yeah. So we have to give ourselves that permission.
Yes.
That full permission, and this is why I was saying that essentially, I will say the language of the feminine is ritual. It's ceremony, because you're in ceremony with your higher self, with your divinity. It's you.
Yes.
And so when you're clear on what you desire, and give yourself that time. Time is also the feminine. Give yourself the time. Be in that space. Paint the picture. Hold on to that vision. Or if, like a garden, if you have a garden because you want to reap the benefits, you're the one who's going to have to tend to that garden. You have to water it. You have to weed it. What are we weeding? Disbelief, fears, doubts. All those things have to go. Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's about the ceremony. It's about being in that space. We want relationships with men. We want relationships with others. We don't have to go look for this. We don't. So that's the shift. We talk about Aquarius. We're talking about freedom. Yeah, you have to free yourself. I mean, you are free. You just have to know it.
Right. Yeah, like there really are no chains.
They're none.
There are none.
You give it to yourself. That's the wild thing about it. Because we have a lot of these concepts out here where people are perceiving that they're in chains. But it's like, okay, am I agreeing to that or not? I used to agree to that, and I used to feel really jacked up in my body, like literally sick from the stress and from the worry, from these perceptions. I used to even, I call it, I used to have a oppressive mind state, a impoverished mindset, a jacked up relationship with money, like all these things, really because I had an agreement with these ideas. I had an agreement with the struggle, like I'm supposed to be impoverished, angry, all kinds of stuff. So of course my body was just like, okay, like cool, like you agreeing to it, I'm agreeing to it.
Isn't that something? Like I always say we just don't know how powerful we are, because if we did, we would know that we're creating all this. And it's this agreement piece is interesting, because one of the reasons I created this podcast, Forget Everything You Think You Know, was specifically for Black people, for myself, because I realized that I had been conditioned into the American narrative around what it meant to be a Black person. And it was deep in my psyche, because I had inherited in my parents the stories and my environment. There's like an agreement that we have as Black people that there is some force out to get us. We call it white people, right? They are out to get us. And as I've been doing the work to learn and study, what I've discovered is that we keep them in place because of our own imaginations, our own conversations, and our own belief systems that say that they are superior, that we are inferior. We are the generators of this experience.
Yes.
And that's
a pill it's a hard pill to swallow, basically. Yeah. Because it takes you a while to get to that point and understanding.
Yes.
Because then it really, you get to a place where, okay, in what ways are we not being accountable? Or what ways are we not taking ownership of what we experience? Like, and then that's the other thing. What do we want to experience? Why do we believe that we can't experience that? Why do we put these other people at the center of our lives? That's essentially what we're doing.
Yes.
Oh, but white people, well, it's like, we literally just talked about this in terms of watering the garden. For some people, white people are the garden, and they're being watered and nurtured, and all the energy is going to white people and to the perspective that these people are in a certain type of position. But you're giving that to them. You're giving your power to them. Like, where's your gravity? Because if you know, if you know that you have that and you're sitting in that and you're placing yourself and your desires and the experiences that you want, and you know that you are, co-created with the divine, like it's limitless. Like, you can create the experience that you're wanting. But if you are feeding your energy into this other thing called white supremacy, which is amazing, because here's the thing, we don't even know the power that we have, because our subconscious space is taking in all these mantras. White supremacy, that's a mantra.
Yes.
You're literally programming that into yourself. So these people have no other, they have no other choice, so to speak, but to be superior over you. At least that's that'll be your perception and your reality.
That's right.
They're not superior over me. They're not superior.
Right.
So what is the mantra that you're singing? What is the mantra that you're living by? What is the painting that you're painting? What is the garden that you're watering? The work is, it falls back on us.
Yes.
If we want a different experience. Because here's the thing, they can't give us the experience that we want. They can't. So why people, again, looking outside, why are people expecting these people who don't know you to give you the experience that you want? You can't do it.
Wow. It's life-changing. What you're saying is life-changing. And I know that I have experienced it as such. And I desire for every person, Black and white, to have this realization, especially Black people,
Yeah.
because the power that comes when we release that idea, those identities, the power that comes for us to create happiness, health, mental well-being, emotional stability, you know, physical well-being, beauty in your body, beauty around you, connections and relationships with others that are flourishing, that are beneficial to everyone involved. Like your life becomes a magical experience.
Yeah, and but it becomes magical because we're identifying with that higher aspect of our being. Like if you know you're a co-creator with the divine, you're a co-creator with the universe. When you are in that space, you're in that space identifying as essentially that's what we say when we say we're God or we're goddess. Then everything is limitless. Like there's nothing that you can't create. And that is the space that's actually going to transform the reality if we desire to be transformed. If we're stuck in these perceptions and these beliefs that are not serving us, well, they're serving us, but we don't realize.
Right. They're serving us to the end that we are creating.
Right.
They're absolutely serving us the way that we want them to be. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we have some choices, right? We have some choices to make.
That's right. That is really powerful. Thank you. I want to ask you a question because your astrology is, you have a Leo rising, and Leo is opposite Aquarius. You also have a Libra moon, which is about relationship, and a Leo sun. And Leo is opposite Aquarius. So Leo is the energy of the light, the Christ. It really is, you know, and when I'm doing readings for people and I see that Leo energy, you know, I go right to my Christian raising, my Christian upbringing. I'm like, I'm sitting with Christ right now because you bring the light. That's what you're designed to do. You're designed to bring the light. And so the Leo rising is Leo in the first house. And that's your identity, that Christ consciousness, and you speak it so well. You really do a beautiful, I see it illumined in you. And your opposite house is Aquarius. And Aquarius opposite the first house is the seventh house of relationship, what we call marriage and partnership in the Western astrology. And so I want to know, how does that Aquarius energy show up in your relationships? Because Aquarius is about freedom and uniqueness and all that sort of stuff. So how are you utilizing that in your relationships?
Yeah, it's I have a really interesting relationship, but I feel like in my relationship I feel free. And I say that because it's a freedom that I created, and not to just sound fluffy, but literally, like, it's like going back before this even existed. I knew that if I was going to give myself to be in a certain type of relationship dynamic, it had to be freeing. I had to be in a space where I can have experiences. I had to be in a space where I can be authentically myself. And so we are in essentially an open marriage. You know, concepts like polyamory, open relating with others, all these are on the table as options for us. Be it kitchen poly, where it's like we have shared partners and we have exclusive partners that we don't share. These are things that we have discussed over and over. This is the space that we're in. And it feels very nice to have these options. But also here's the thing, like in terms of like being the light, I've known from the get-go that I was the one to say how this is going to work. Because when I look at my husband, I love him, but he doesn't have that how in terms of, we have a certain type of structure, but when we have these structures that a lot of people just rush into, they don't know how to make it work. And if you don't have the how to that mechanism, you're going to be in trouble. You want freedom, yeah, but how are you going to create that freedom? How do you create that balance? And so I know for myself in my relationships, I am one with the feminine energy. This is why I teach. This is why I work with others with these feminine energies, because the ceremony, the ritual, the utilizing of the internal energies, the healing aspect, it's a must. If that does not exist in any relationship, then you have no relationship. You have a concept, you have maybe this idea, but you don't have the fuel, you don't have the water, the sustenance, the nutrition. And that's the role literally that I'm playing in these relationships. And I stand firm in what I know or what I bring, if we call bring to the relationships. Because I'm not wavering in the sense where, a lot of people shut down, or women shut down when, they're not automatically or received, or there's certain things that they want to experience in a relationship, but it's not automatic, But here's the thing about the feminine shifts the reality from the inside out. So it's not that the freedom that I'm experiencing now just was automatic. It's like this had to be worked from the inside out, because it also included me freeing myself. It included me knowing and believing that I could have the experiences that I wanted. I have one partner where we are now, I just, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, how do we get here? Because in the beginning, I was damn sure we would never get to that point. But I did what? I took it into ceremony, and I saw myself having the experience, literally creating the relationship. And so the freedom, especially, like, I'm very passionate about relationships, because I really do believe that we can have what we desire.
Yes. When you have a Libra moon also. So the Libra moon means all about relationships.
Yeah. We can have it, it's something that's very healing. It's something that's very connecting. And when we have that, a lot of the issues we have today, where people are facing all kinds of depression, mental illnesses, just the heated aggression that we see, the unbalanced masculine, these different types of things, is existing because we're thirsty. I love that term. People think it's a bad term. We're thirsty. Yeah, we're thirsty because we need the feminine. We're thirsty. We need that energy in our relationships. We need it inside of us. We need that water.
So beautiful, because I really hope that the listeners are getting that the feminine brings a value that is absolutely the first order of things.
It's the first. It is the first. We spent 9 months in the womb.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like the society doesn't validate the feminine because it's not seen. It's hidden. That's why all of us are looking outside. I had to learn that too. But I said, no, I'm going to affirm my value. There was a point where I felt some type of way about myself, because I knew I held the feminine polarity, but my husband was the masculine polarity. And externally, people were like, you're a professor. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're doing that. All the external accolades and stuff like that. So I started to kind of feel like, well, damn, he got all the limelight and the glory type of thing like that, what have you. But then I had to affirm what I came with. And when I began to do that, it's almost kind of like people desire to know what the feminine aspect was. Well, if you're like this, what's he I need to know him. Clearly there's something happening here.
Right.
Or clearly there's something about this light that he's bringing, because you have this light because you're with him.
Yes.
It's and so the feminine is that it's hidden. It's mysterious. And we don't go to school to learn the feminine, like feminine. That's why we have this kind of like this disconnect, because we only are affirming the masculine, so women are being trained to become men, and that's when they start going toe to toe with men, and we have this whole conflict.
Right. It's like when women start, I watch women competing with men. I hear women say, well, how come I have to do it? How, right? So
yeah, how come I have to do it?
Speak to that, please.
Yeah, it's interesting, but we need to understand that these power, it's what I call power dynamics. These power dynamics are not one above the like, they're complementary. So your power is actually in your role, like your power is actually like, and it's in your role, and when you're in that, you get to actually see how that works for you in your world and the world at large. The reason the conflict exists is because that is such an unknown, and it's not validated until you validate it. It's almost kind of like, I don't know, I'm not the best with analogy, but those parking, like, you have to validate your ticket. Like, it's like you're the one who can, like the masculine doesn't have the how, basically.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the how. I'm gonna just put it like that. He doesn't have the how. He doesn't know how to do it.
He has the how. He doesn't have the how.
That's this plain English. He just doesn't have the how. You have the how.
I hear you. I hear you, and I agree with you. Wow, this is so profound. So I want to, I feel like I could talk to you forever. You're going to have to come back and have another. So let me tell you that there's a full moon in Aquarius next month. Maybe you can come back with me for next month for the next full moon in Aquarius, and we can really break down this feminine power to support people in really breaking away from the old paradigm.
Yes.
That's it. And as we watch our old world die, because we're watching it die, can you leave our listeners with anything that they could use to help them access more freedom in their lives, just quickly, and then share where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I want to say the feminine is the creator of culture. Like, we know that culture has sustained us for thousands of years. It has shifted in so many different experiences because the feminine is the how. The feminine actually, like, we thrive because of the feminine, when the feminine is in her power. So this is the role of the feminine, is to define that how, what it looks like, and everyone will fall in place. If you're in place, everyone will fall in place. So spend that time with yourself, really looking at the experiences that you want and how you want to bring that into manifestation. That's something that you get to do inside of yourself. Give yourself that time, whether it's meditation, whether it's through dance, listening to music, but give yourself the time to really be in that space and figure that out. Yeah, it's not a rush. It's just, do you know that space? Do you sit in that space? And allow yourself to see what comes to you. I can be found on Instagram, House of the Wang, House_the_Wang. I can be found on Facebook, Divine Claiborne. And you can also touch base with Monique if you're having a hard time finding me. She'll plug you in. I would really be happy to connect with everyone. And thank you so much, Monique. Thank you so much, Moon Mama here, for having me on this beautiful show, this beautiful podcast. I will receive your invite to come back, because I feel like we have so much to talk about. Like, we really need to, we're just like scratching the surface here.
Right, we're just scratching the surface. And the way you frame it, I have to say before we go, I love coaching men, because men aren't very tapped into the feminine, but their logic, they start to understand it, because their logic makes them curious, and they're like, explain, what do you mean? And they're willing to go in these places that I'm very excited to invite them into. So thank you, because
come into the water.
yes,
come into the water.
Into the water. That's right. So thank you, Divine, because you are doing it in a beautiful way, and I see thousands of women standing in your line to come and sit at your feet and work with you so that they can be taught and guided back to themselves. So I see thousands of women coming for you. And I see your art all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I received that.
So, everyone, thank you for joining us. I encourage you to go check out the courses that I'm offering right now, Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius. This is the energy of tapping into your divine fortune, your vision, your imagination, what you're up to. This is going to help you really tap into your inner power. And like Divine said, if you want to know the how, you have to go inside of you to find it. The Jupiter in retrograde in Aquarius will help you with that class. Saturn retrograde in Aquarius for you to tap into your internal power, just your power to really focus and keep your mind stayed on what it is that you want to see in the reality. But you got to build it on the inside. You got to build it. You got to erect it inside of you. And the Saturn in Aquarius class will help you do that. So I am so grateful for all of your listening. I'm so grateful for all of you who share the podcast. And it is absolutely my pleasure to bring this information to you every 2 weeks. Thank you again for this Aquarius Full Moon podcast, Divine. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And I invite everyone to listen and share. Until we meet again, peace and blessings. I am the Moon Mama. I am Monique Ruffin. This is Forget Everything You Think You Know. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.